Roger, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to America, the girls, your whole family, and Team Federer. I know actually you're into the new year now because it's like almost 8 p.m. here. So you guys are already well into the new year. However, you probably don't care to necessarily know this, but last night, I've been really sick. Sick, as they say, sick like a freaking dog. And I never get sick. I live in a city where people are sick like all the time, coughing on each other, different types of things like that. And I can't remember the last time I've been sick. It has been good, maybe even over 10 years where I've been sick. And I have to tell you, I've been sick for the last, 4 to 5 days, and I've been like in bed at least two out of those 4, like really in bed, just trying to get well. So anyway, last night, despite the sickness and everything, I made this video for you that was so freaking dope, so awesome. And don't you know, I wasn't even freaking taping. Always something going on with me and this freaking record button. And I was just like, man, I didn't even get like ridiculously bent out of shape. I was just like, oh, So I figured, like, because I put so much, sometimes you actually put in the essence of so much into something that you don't even know if it's like you put it out there, and it's gone, and you don't know, like, you can't get it back to make a second video for it. So I began to, I was annoyed about that last night, and, despite the fact that I was really sick. Like, if you think I sound bad now, I don't even know if you guys can tell if there's a difference in my voice, but, from normal. But, literally yesterday my cousin was like, I really hate to tell you this, but you sound terrible. I was like, I know. So, despite the fact of just really being sick yesterday and sitting and talking on a video to bring in the new year, and then it wasn't recording at all, and of course, I do long videos, so it was like, I don't know, I felt like I was talking for an hour, which I can do, but I think it was only like maybe 25 minutes, 30 minutes, but still, I was like, ugh, after all of that, it's gone. And then it brought me to... today it brought me to thinking about living in the moment again, starting from moment to moment, and it also brought me to something that I was talking about in that video, which is basically focusing on the actual new effort. Like when you're in a match and say you've lost a point, or you've created an error, in a crucial point in the match, and now you're busy kind of living in the past, talking about the error or whatever. Yesterday I was really, oh my gosh, really talking about in 2013, Roger, you going on to taking tennis into a new realm of who you are. Like, you're different pace. You're a different person. We're all just different people. Maybe I 6 months ago I was a different person, or I'm a different person now rather than I was 6 months ago. We are changing all of the time as we get information, as we give out information, whatever the human interface is. We are changing all of the time. So at this point in time, with your career, with where you are, with the development of other players and where they are, as well, it's like, well, who are you as this new player going into 2013? So that was a lot of what I was talking about, and what I was thinking about was the difference between the player of 2012 and what the player of 2013 would be, which I think you've given us, like, a lot of fans, a lot of excitement as far as, just seeing where you're going to be going. So I was actually talking about, with regard to a lot of things that I mentioned in my videos in 2012, like sort of that trend, the mental mental aspect, like who you are as you approach a match. Like, how are you going to go into, a fortnight at the Australian Open? Like, what are you thinking about? How do you want to approach this? And really noticing what I was trying to say, and I know I'm like not getting to the point, but as Deepak Chopra actually says, the space between thoughts. And it's hard to for me to realize what the hell he was talking about until I started thinking about you, Roger Federer. It's so funny. Like, you see how you indirectly enlighten me, Roger Federer? Do you see that? Your existence causes me to realize, to be able to translate the otherwise possibly just not, well, I can't think of another word, but to just say ineligible. I know that's not illegible, rather, sort of communication from other people. So anyway, I know that really doesn't necessarily make any sense. Illegible or is not right. Anyway, whatever. So there's this space that Deepak Chopra talks about between your thoughts, and that's exactly what I thought about when I think of you. It's like you're on the court with these other players who play intensely, and how do you want to be more present in 2013 with what happens in between the action and the actual feeling and thought conclusion? So if you're on the court with Murray and Murray actually returns a shot that you thought that you actually put away, and he's kind of been doing that for the last couple of plays. Sort of, you've been winning. Let's say you've been winning the last couple of points, but they've been hard to put away. What else is new with these guys? But what is happening in between the actual action and the thought? So the space between that. How are you processing that information? And I think if you're able to stand between what I'm calling the space between the thought, the space between the action and the thought, that you will, action, thought, and feeling, that you will actually be able to be more present in the moment, and you'll be able to process the event and also keep yourself tapped into the concentration levels even better, even higher for 2013. So if Murray has hit a last couple of shots that you were having a hard time with, and then this final shot where he was able to return a shot that you thought you'd put away, what begins to happen right there? Where does the mind decide it wants to start going downhill, going, oh, this is hard, oh, I can't believe I worked so hard for that? And kind of like what I was talking about in my video last night, like, I really, it's just sometimes where you really are in the zone and you're like really saying and doing whatever you need to do, and then the freaking video isn't working, and it's like, it's kind of like, all right, well, I can't even, I kind of can't do that again. But yes, I can. I'm here. I'm doing it again. So, and I'm working with whatever's going on with the moment, because a real big part of me wants to be like, God damn it, excuse me, sorry. But, really put my heart and soul, and I made some amazing points. Can I even really touch those points again? Can I make everything flow? But here I am, just working with what happened. And the thing is that if I get caught up in that thought, then all of my consciousness and feelings and willingness to want to communicate with you, the certain things that I want to communicate, are going to be so shut off because I'm so busy having my faculties tied up in, oh my gosh, I lost this freaking video, I put so much into it last night, oh, la 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 la. So it's actually a space between the action and the thought. Like, what are your choices between these 2 points? And I think, Roger, if you continue to stay there and stay very aware of that space between, again, action, thought, and feeling, You know, like for me with the video last night, it's like the feeling sucks, okay? Because I put so much out, and you know when it was like flowing, it was really well said, it's consistent, coherent, amazing points and stuff like that, but it didn't happen. So once I turned off the freaking video and noticed that I actually turned it on instead of off, which meant I wasn't taping it freaking all, what was my choice right in that moment? Was I going to get discouraged, like, oh, I'll never make it good again? Was I going to stay focused on that? No, I just pretty much let it go. I let myself, you know, have a certain amount of emotion, but not to the point where I'm going to go, like, downhill as well. So getting back to that with tennis, I think it was around Wimbledon where you said... where you mentioned sometimes you're, or maybe it was Roland Garros, I think, where you were saying in an interview, like, sometimes you're working so hard, you're doing every single thing you're supposed to be doing, and somebody ends up winning the point, and you're like, wait a minute, that's not even fair. I'm out here working so hard. There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with that. So it's something to that effect, I think you said in a Roland Garros interview. So it's that kind of ability, again, it sort of brings in the Wimbledon, you know, the Wimbledon quote of the imposter and stuff like that. Like, when you're putting in so much effort or whatever, with great effort, I guess to a certain extent comes great risk. Yeah, because, I mean, if it doesn't succeed, you're putting in so much effort, so how high you are up is how, you know, not long the fall is, so to speak. So when that effort doesn't pan out, it really feels like you've lost a lot. And so then again, like I said, there's that space in between the moment when the action, the moment when it didn't work out, and then what your thought and feelings are. Now, your feelings are always going to be your feelings, but it's how you manage those feelings. And I think if feelings come just slightly, you know, it's hard, it's difficult. I don't know if the thought comes before the feeling, or the feeling comes before the thought, or that they're pretty much interfaced, you know. And maybe the recognition comes first, then the feeling, then the thought based on the feeling. I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to bore you with a whole bunch of technical philosophical type of analytical stuff. But there is that moment in time, like, you know, again, what are you going to do, like, in 2013 to manage that space in between when a shot isn't working, or managing, you know, really keeping an eye on what reality is. And yesterday I went into this perfect talk about, for example, Djokovic playing Nadal at Roland Garros, the Roland Garros finals last year. Now, for me personally, I recommended in the video yesterday you see that match again, because I think it's really good to kind of see, like, how Joker basically disqualified himself before the match, and this is all based on my personal interpretation, what I thought, what I saw of him, his actions, his reactions. I felt that he went into that match thinking, like, he stepped foot, like, his heel on the clay, and already knew that he wasn't going to win. And even that's the dialogue that he had. That's the conclusion that he had. You know, he was going to play to win, but he thought, oh, Rafa, king of clay, you know. And I talk about that in my videos before, about how the mind, once you start saying somebody's the king of clay, you pretty much sort of unconsciously disqualified yourself from being able to win the tournament, because you're already saying that someone else is the king. So again, there's that space in between the action and the thought, and also there's also that consideration of how you start disqualifying yourself psychologically by saying, oh, this person's a favorite or whatever. You know, and I'm sure there's a fine line between wanting to be realistic and wanting to also just be able to keep keep yourself psyched up in order to win, and not sort of, like I said, disqualify yourself psychologically. Because as soon as you start saying somebody else is the king of clay, you really start telling yourself, that you know that's just a backwards way of saying that you're not going to win, that this person rules this event, and that's it, and that's all. It's what you start labeling people as, and you say they're the favorite, without saying, okay, well, the people consider him the favorite. You know what? I know what I can do, and I've beaten this person before, and I'm going to do my best, and when I do my best, I beat this person. And so I think it's a careful, again, just managing that space in between the two. And Roger, especially for you, Roger, when you're on court, and I think with you, it starts even before you get on court, which is another thing I was talking about yesterday. Perhaps in 2013, really getting yourself straight on checking with yourself to see, like, where's my mind and attitude as far as coming into the Australian Open. Am I feeling like I was in Shanghai, lost to Murray, and then going into the World Tour Finals, and then feeling surprised that I beat Murray. It's really good for you to, I think, get into, I think it's good for you to, like, get into a sense in 2013 of sort of hunting down, like, those negative thoughts, or just hunting down those blocks and limitations and restrictions and resistance that you give to yourself, the areas that you are not giving yourself permission to win. Like saying Rafa's king of clay. I'm not saying you've ever said that, but having that in your mind. Oh, yeah, he's the king of clay. Like, that's also a restriction you're placing on yourself, whether you say no, it's not. It is. I'm just telling you. I'm not saying an attitude towards you, but I'm just saying it is. It is. Unconsciously, it is. Because the body starts to check out, like, all right, this person's king. I'm not going to be able to win this. This person has the lock on this particular event. So you want to be careful and, like, start, like, as you go into the tournaments, like, really sort of what I was saying yesterday is bringing in your heroes, whether it's, and I named a few, like I said, whether it's Pele and whether it's Pete Sampras. I don't know fully who, I know that you like Pete Sampras, I know that you like Pele, so I'm just naming them, but I don't know if those are really necessarily your people. Tiger Woods, and just going into those moments and, like, even before bed at night, like, channeling in the thoughts of just, the brilliant moments where people have pulled off that shot, that win, that impossible moment that they made possible, and really just tapping into whomever is in your winner's circle. Can I be in your winner's circle, Roger? I'm just kidding. No, maybe I'm not kidding. I would love it to know sometime in life where you're like, oh my gosh, you are so part of my winner's circle, oh world girl. Ah. Anyway, so, no, seriously though, whomever it is, of course, you're in my winner's circle, actually, like I said, Will Smith, he's, for me, another person who's, like, in my winner's circle. There are a number of people on this planet who really inspired me in a number of different ways. And those are the people, like, who actually open up the channels or the valves, whatever you want to use, for me to just get excited about a match, get excited about the possibility. I don't even play tennis, but I'm just speaking as if I were you. Those people who open up the valves of excitement that actually override the nervousness, override the doubt, override the negativity. And I think if you just continue to kind of utilize your winner's circle to draw on that, and just give yourself a check, like checking what's in between the space, you know what I mean? Like, how are you managing this between the action and the space, between the past action and the thought and conclusion, and just really getting into hunting down everything that's holding you back unconsciously and consciously. And one of the things I said is it's actually sitting down and sort of like I said, a bedtime intention, and just really saying, I've drawn on my winner's circle, like getting yourself excited over those moments that Pete Sampras pulled off. And actually won Wimbledon 7 times, and how you were a young boy watching that or whatever. But just remembering those impossible moments made possible, and really standing in that moment, feeling your valves of, I don't know how to say it, but it's an opening, like if I think about things you've done, winning 17 this year, getting so excited, hitting that shot and Murray missing that last shot, and then you were like, oh, you just collapse, like, and it's just beautiful, to see you pulled it the freak off. You pulled it off. You did it. It's exciting to see people you care about so much excel like that. Like, it just opens you up. And so that's when I say valves. Like, there's a feeling, there's a there's what do they call it? An energetic flush, I guess you could say. So drawing on that at night and just talking about how you just lift off all restrictions, and lifting away all restrictions and limitations, giving myself full permission to be willing to win, and there are some areas where we aren't willing to do stuff, but they may not be conscious. You might be like, there's no way I'm not willing to win, but just trust. There are like areas where you disqualify yourself, where I can't do that or whatever. This is hard to change, and do it this way is hard. There's all this negative self-talk that's in the body, not only in the mind but in the body. And so that's why I always think, as a disqualifier, as a default, you should naturally always just say, I release any restrictions, and I give myself permission to release all self-imposition, anything that's restricting me from my highest and best, in triumph and winning, and fully embodying victory, fully embodying triumph, fully embodying championship, fully embodying heralding that win, and being in the winner's circle constantly. There's a lot of interesting things to do, and just giving yourself permission to win. I give myself permission to win on all levels. I give myself permission to win. I give myself permission to be willing to win on all levels in all moments of time. That would be my thing. That would definitely be my thing, and I think that's something that actually would help as you go into these tournaments in 2013. You're putting in the physical practice. You want to put in the physical practice. You're taking off more time, shaved off a couple of tournaments in order to be able to put in more physical practice, which is awesome. But again, the mental is what's really, is what's really been, I think, the issue holding you back from taking the World Tour Finals, which you totally should have taken, and I'm not saying that in a negative way. I think there are a number of other matches. You definitely should have gone further in Roland Garros. Seriously, you should have gone way further in Rome. We can go on. Although you did a majorly fantastic job this year. It's an excellent year. So proud of you as a fan. But I think also in the U.S. Open, I still haven't brought myself back to watch that match so much, but I think you should have been able to get yourself past Verdich as well. But I'll keep that a little bit of a gray shade of a comment, because I'm not, I still haven't fully watched that match. But I think, 2013 is having the bravery and to be really thorough about what's holding you back mentally. What mental baggage are you, dragging on to the court, or do you have to be burdened with, on the court, in addition to playing against the opponent, having to manage your own mindset, and then all of the baggage as well. So you can imagine dragging the baggage to the left as you're hitting, You know, a backhand, dragging the baggage to the right, trying to hit the forehand, etc., etc. So I want to kind of jump back to, really quickly back to Djokovic and playing Nadal at Roland Garros. Now he had unbelievably like disqualified himself, you know, and like I said, I believe you should see that match because I think it really shows you a sense of mental erosion, mental breakdown. And I'm not saying that the man was going crazy or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying like he came out, he was listless, he was nervous, he was playing reactive tennis. Like he was afraid, but he was playing reactive tennis. As a matter of fact, he hit this shot where he looked totally scared. I don't know. It was awesome too. It was a really, really fucking awesome shot. And Djokovic gets to pull off these freaking awesome shots at times. It really surprises you. But of course, you know, Roger Federer, you're the greatest of all time. But I'm just talking about Djokovic right now, and that's serious. He pulled up this shot. I mean, Rafa served to him, and Djokovic just looked so scared, and he reacted and did the shot, and it's amazing that he managed to keep that shot. He hit it to the right side, and he managed to keep it in, and it was just amazing, you know. So, yeah, he was scared a lot in that, and anyway, what ended up happening is he stopped believing in himself. He didn't give himself a chance, first of all. He didn't believe in himself in that match, even though he was more reactive. Um, his belief in himself, his trust in himself, it was eroding just profusely. And some of it was because Rafa's just really tenacious on his returns, you know. Very tenacious. So I imagine, in all fairness, that was part of the reason why it was eroding his Djokovic's belief in himself. But the thing is that Djokovic was actually ahead. I think it was like 8 games that he got on Rafa, and Djokovic was still playing like he didn't trust himself. And like I mentioned in one of my videos earlier this year, I mentioned that Djokovic hit this shot that I actually, as tennis, am complete and utter amateur in tennis. Could have won that shot against Rafa. Like, Djokovic was already at net. All he had to do was put it away. It was like Rafa was already on the right side of the court, if I remember correctly. Djokovic was already at net, and he could have just went and, I mean, he could have, like serving, he could have just hit the ball to the left with some speed on it, and Rafa would not have gotten it. But he hit it right over the rock. He hesitated and then hit it right to Rafa, which for me, I completely didn't understand, other than he was in a blur of his own disbelief, his own lack of belief in himself, and he doubted himself, and you could see that. You could see that hesitation on the court. But I think it's a really good match for you to see again, because I think, you know, it is totally mirrors what you and you had to go through with Rafa, and sort of the same emotional reactions that you had, you know, again with Wimbledon 2008 and the Australian Open 2009 against Rafa. How you basically, for me, came on court and you weren't even available. You know, like, you already had, like, a shadow over your face. I know I've told you this all throughout this year, so I don't need to go into repeating that again. But that's a very important match to see with Djokovic and Rafa. You could just see, number one, the effect, the action that Rafa had, because he's such a tenacious returner. The space in between Djokovic's thoughts. In addition to the fact that he had already been disqualifying himself when he stepped on court. But you're not going to really see that happen to Djokovic much anymore. You know, I think he paid his dues with that loss, and he's just never going to play scared tennis again, really. You know, I mean, he could be down and all of that. I'm just going through everything else through the year and stuff like that. I don't think I'm ever going to see him ever play scared, you know, just rattled. I don't want to say he's playing scared tennis necessarily. Maybe rattled tennis. So anyway, you can see the decision between, the fact that Rafa was playing so tenaciously, and you could see in that space there where Djokovic was choosing to turn this into something like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to win this. And even when he was up by 8 games, he couldn't trust himself, couldn't hold on. It's really quite sad for him because I think he deserved that title. But anyway, it's really just good to see how people can participate in their own deconstruction. And not to say he got deconstructed skill wise. I'm just saying, like, he just the mental erosion, the mental deconstruction on the court, and how much that really closed off because he's so busy with the distraction of being afraid, and that choice, the space in between the thoughts, the action, and then the actual thought, and then choosing the choice of going down with the thought that doesn't serve you, serve your productivity. You saw the complete deconstruction of him not being able to be 100% focused. So once you lose your focus, that's it. And there are a number of ways to lose a focus. So anyway, I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. I feel like I'm kind of rambling off on a really big subject. But I think a key, Roger, in 2013, again, is really staying committed to your focus. And it's not to say, oh my gosh, you're not focused. It's not that. But really keeping your eye on the prize when you're in a match that's tough. And I think the key to that for you in 2013 is you already have the skill to beat these guys. You already have beaten these guys. But it's, again, that space in between the action and the actual thought feeling conclusion, and how are you going to manage that space in between, and really say, all right, well, it was Djokovic who got this return back to me or whatever. I want to start feeling like I feel myself turning over to be like discouraged or whatever. And just noticing that feeling, noticing what's coming up, of just returning to the moment. I'm going to do my best in this moment. I'm going to go to the moment. And I think the more that you get, you start exercising that ability to manage that space in between any tough moments that you have, the more grip you're going to have on reality. Kind of like the Australian Open 2012, where you won the first set off of Rafa, if I remember correctly, and end up losing the match or whatever. And again, seemed like, if I remember correctly, some mental dialogue. So it's all about who are you playing against? Are you playing against yourself, or are you playing against Rafa? And a lot of times, for me, especially for you playing against Rafa, it's like, Rafa's no opponent, really. It's you. It's Roger Federer all over Roger Federer. Not allowing Roger Federer to take the match the way he should rightfully do so. Because Roger Federer is busy with it all in Roger Federer's head with dialogue and everything else. And then before you know it, Roger Federer has aired himself out any possibility of winning. And that's the same thing, kind of like what Djokovic did against Rafa in Roland Garros. So it's interesting. I think I would love to recommend for you to see that match again and just really take a look at Djokovic, how he started doubting himself, how he started hesitating to make shots that he's more than capable of making skillfully. So those things. And then finally, I wanted to talk about like how in 2013, again, like a little bit of what I talked about in some of my latest videos, which is how do you want to approach all of the main circuit guys, the top 8 guys, usually end up bumping heads against. Of course, you're going to focus on everyone, but the hard focus on these guys to a certain extent. How do you want to show up in a match against Del Potro this season? He's been playing try failure. How do you say? Goodness, I know, it's like he's been running his trials on Roger Federer, in his own rightful way. Like, where did he lose to you? Did he lose to you in Rotterdam? I can't remember. And then he lost to you in Rolling Arrows, and then you guys played again. Did you play him in Spain? I can't remember. Anyway, you played him in the Olympics, and so all I'm saying is, like, he's had a lot of trial and error with you. That's what I was trying to say. Trial and error. Let me try this with Roger. Let me try that with Roger, and kind of like trying to get over the hump of the hurdle of Roger Federer. So how do you want to show up in 2013 against guys like that? Like, all of your toughest moments, like guys who have given you your toughest moments. Like, usually end up, like I said, you end up in a lot of tie breaks with Del Potro. So how do you want to show up in those moments? Where do you want to be mentally in those moments? Where do you want to be physically, as far as strategy is concerned? In those moments, like if you come into another tie break, how do you want to make sure you come out on the right end of that tie break? And I think it's addressing, again, some elements more than just practicing. Of course, it's strategy. Of course, it's being fit, which I don't think you ever have a problem with. But it's also that mental aspect as well, And I think just knowing the trends that you set, if I can sit here as a fan and tell you certain stuff, then I think you already know it too, to a certain extent. But sometimes people don't realize stuff as well until somebody else mentions it to them. But there's a trend. There's a trend where you tend to sort of get into this lack of focus when you get into high stakes matches, or when you get into really rough patches or tough spots. You tend to lose a certain level of the concentration and focus. Like, you're not in alignment with your concentration and focus, and you end up erroring yourself out. So, I mean, Roland Garros at tie break when you were going against Del Potro, and you made a critical error where you were extremely angry with yourself. Like, how do you want to show up in those moments? How do you want to show up? How do you want to eliminate any tie breaks with Del Potro, or anyone else for that matter, for the most part? I'm not saying that you could totally predict doing that, but what do you want to work on in order to make it less likely to get to that point? And what do you want, pay attention to what he's been able to make not work against you in his game, and try to cut down on that, obviously. And then also, whatever you've made not work for him, you're going to amplify, and also be aware of whether or not he's actually ending up practicing and overcoming what you have been making not work against him. Sorry. Oh, you actually, the shots that you are generating, and whatever he's trying to return back to you that you made not work, made him not be able to make it work for himself. I hope that was clear. So anyway, those are a lot of different things. I kind of feel like I'm sort of rambling, but I think, again, the major thing this year is in 2013, you're already really excelling really high. The only thing, again, that was holding you back in 2012 was really, once again, Roger Federer being Roger Federer's biggest opponent. Not Djokovic, not Murray, not Berdych, but just the mental thing. And again, if you want to talk about Berdych, he says he doesn't like to give Roger Federer any time because Roger Federer likes time, So I think if you decide to start trusting yourself, taking the ball earlier. Don't hesitate. Um, just trust your shot making practice so that you are getting everything right, and don't let the noise get in the way of the natural mechanics of the body. You're going to be totally fine. Like, if you take on a ball early, you don't have to hesitate. I've seen you a couple times recently hesitate when you take on a ball early. And sometimes you need a moment to hesitate to make sure you're getting the shot in right. But for me, some of the times when I see you hesitate, it seems like from a level of self second guessing and this lack of self trust. So you know, it's important to look at that. How can you trust yourself more in these tough moments? Which the answer would be is making sure that you're not so busy clouding up your mind with, oh my gosh, this is so hard. Oh my gosh, I might lose. Oh my gosh, this and that. If you're more in alignment with managing that space in between, again, the action and the thought, then you're not going to shut down your natural faculties and ability and natural body mechanics to be able to make a shot go off. So it's good to really look at that. It's good to, again, I think, approach the 2013 season like really sort of, I don't want to say rigorously. Why do I feel like that word would turn you off? But vigilantly. Being vid, vigilant, and really sitting down and going, you know what? I'm releasing all limitation. I'm standing in. I'm opening up all channels and valves, you know, for myself to be standing in the line of victory. Like, I walk in victory, I act in victory, I think in victory, I think in championship, I think in triumph, I am triumph. You know, really opening up those valves as opposed to going into this, okay, I lost to Murray last month and this is going to be tough. I need to make sure that everything's going to be tough. I need to make sure I can get past this one and that one and this one. And if I get in with Delpo, you know, how am I going to deal with that? Is it going to be a 4-hour match and stuff like that? Like, you notice perhaps like how one strain of thinking brings you down and brings in a feeling of cumbersome, maybe even a little bit of confusion, or whereas the other train of thought brings in more clarity, more availability, of aliveness, thriveness, a readiness, an excitement, a feeling of I can actually do this. So I think before every tournament you should be, vigilant about what your thoughts are. Again, what any limitations, any unconscious limitations you're putting on yourself. Just release it. I release any limitations unconsciously, consciously, on all levels of my consciousness. I'm ready to perform. I perform in my highest and best. I tap into my highest and best. And I'm cool, calm, and collected in the important moments, in the tough moments. I stay positive. It's really good for you to put together those affirmations, Roger. So even if you get yourself like an accountability partner, perhaps it's a friend outside of Team Federer who will just call you up and go, you know what, Roger, what are you doing? What's going on? How are you thinking? How are you feeling? And someone who will just get past the point of you just going, oh, I'm feeling fine. I'm feeling good. Say, all right, so what are your feelings? You see the draw. You know who you're going to be going against. Like, how are you tapping in? How are you tapping into, yourself? You're not worried about other people or who's in the draw or how you're going to deal with them. Like, how are you tapping into making sure you're not shutting off any of your faculties? Like, you go into a match fully alive, fully awake, with everything open and ready to react, to create, and to win. As opposed to, oh, it's going to be a tough match. Oh my gosh, I'm going against the king of clay. Or, oh my gosh, I'm going against so-and-so. And, you know, you've already shut off parts of your body, and you've already made yourself not available to that high amount of focus that you need in order to it's needed in order to beat most of these guys. So that's the thing, protecting your focus, really enhancing and wow, just lost the thought for that. Enhancing the focus, enriching the focus, keeping it the valve between your focus and your self-belief really just connected and really completely open, so that your way you're playing your highest and best, your complete highest and best in your tournaments. And that way you know that even no matter what anybody's throwing at you, that you can come up with something new and come up with an answer, find a way. So, yeah. So if you can get that going, and again, be aware of the space between the thoughts, not only before a tournament, but not only setting your mind up before a tournament, how you want to go into the Australian Open, where you want to be, you know, how you want to how you want to show up in each moment in the tournament, how you want to show up in adversity once again, staying in moment to moment, and really again drawing on your champions. I think it's gonna really get you, you know, quite a damn few Grand Slam titles, as well as other, titles in general. So I think the biggest thing is that you can do this with no problem, and that you're able, last year, even with all the mental stuff and the anger and Roland Garros, etc., like, you made it to the semifinals. You know what I mean? Imagine if you had been fully on, Roger, like really fully available and on. So I can't say the same thing for, even though you said you were feeling really good and stuff for the U.S. Open and stuff, but I still think there was some issues there as well. But, World Tour Finals, you definitely should have taken that. You know that. And, again, if you can manage, like, being focused and keeping the valve open again on just having all of your senses aware, having that focus, not making any errors, because the errors are what you lost you almost everything this season. The unforced errors, not forced errors, not somebody just beating you outright, but the freaking unforced errors. So, it's the mental aspect. And again, tapping into your winner's circle, doing a nighttime intention, even getting your team to kind of do the same thing, because I feel like attitude seeps from one to another. So even though Paul Anico might be an amazing coach and all of that, he's still running the same road as you. He's still going up against the same guys as you, even though he's not playing on the court. So I feel like in your immediate circle, and even Mirka, maybe even emotionally, sitting on the sidelines watching all of your tournaments, maybe you need somebody outside of that sphere to be able to make sure they always have that rope that can pull you out of any sort of ditch you get yourself into. And the people around you are not fully and 100% necessarily going to be able to do that objectively, because they're going through the same emotional experience, they're running the same road that you are, where they're there with you in your trainings, they're there with you from moment to moment, so emotionally they're going through the same thing. So you need somebody kind of outside of that circle who's going to keep your feet on the ground in a different way, you know. So looking at that, and yeah, I'm gonna get going, I guess, because yeah, I think that's everything. But I know you can definitely. What is that? Somebody celebrating the New Year already? That scared me. That sound outside. Um. Anyway, so good luck with everything. I think you should just be, take yourself like into a 15-day intention. You know what I mean? It's I don't know exactly when the Australian Open starts. It's typically the middle of the month, though. But take yourself into a journey on the road to the Australian Open, and every night just say, I'm totally willing to win. I give myself full permission to win. Again, you might not agree with what I'm saying, but I'm saying on some unconscious levels, you don't give yourself, you, me, all of us, we don't give ourselves permission to win. We disqualify ourselves one way or another. And, I give myself permission to release all limitations and restrictions that I place on myself. And I just tap in. I tap into victory. I tap into championship. And I I give myself permission to win, and it's safe for me to be succeeding in high success. Now, you might say, well, why would you think that I don't feel safe in succeeding? You know, it's all about again, coming back to the trends of creating those eras and those high stakes matches. Like, on some part of you is, again, I said, there's a part of you that's afraid to win, and I think behind the fear is the belief that maybe, there's a lack of belief in self to a certain extent. And it's not to say, obviously, you believe highly in yourself because you've achieved so much. So I'm not wiping or being dismissive. I'm just saying that those are the feelings that typically generate those kind of beliefs, and the belief systems are typically the ones that generate the errors that were being made. So that's what I'm going off of. But going to a 15-day intention, Roger. Like, just before you go to bed. Like I said, just getting into pulling in your winner circle, whoever that is. Tapping into that feeling of championship, saying all the answers come to you, all the doors of victory open toward me, and all the moments in the tiebreakers, the doors of victories. I stand and walk through the doors of victory. I stand and walk through. I am championship. I am triumph. I embody triumph in all of my matches. And that's the type of thing that you should be tenaciously holding on to. Because there's a difference in feeling. Like, try and say that, and even if those aren't the right words for you, figure out, words that are similar but are right for you, and you're going to notice the difference, like an opening, an excitement, a possibility, a readiness for you, as opposed to going, like I said, it's a tough match, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, oh, I don't know if I'm going to win this much this year or whatever. I think you should be aiming to win every single Grand Slam. What the that's right, I said it. Every single Grand Slam. And I'm not going to get you, I realize, it's never going, it's going to be a road that requires a lot of focus. A lot of focus, a lot of tenacious, consistency, follow-up, etc., you name it. So I don't want to just go, I don't want to go throwing out four Grand Slams to you. But notice also, what I said, 4 Grand Slams. Notice what comes up in the mind. Like, notice if anything negative comes up in the mind. And while you don't need to worry about the other 3 Grand Slams, just start with the U.S. Open. Start with the Australian Open. And just go the 15-day intention. Even if you only spend 2 minutes before bed. Do that. Get the accountability partner who's outside of your immediate circle. And check in. Like, Roger, how are you feeling? What thoughts came up today that are not serving you? Where are you holding back? Where do you feel resistance? Where do you feel like you don't want to do something? Where are you not practicing something? Where are you putting off something? Those type of things. So, I'm going to go ahead and leave that because I feel like you probably have gotten all of this by now and don't need me to repeat anything else. But good luck, my friends. Love you as much as usual. Like I said, Happy New Year to you and Mirka and the girls and Team Federer. Once again, Roger, so proud of you. And I know we're going to see the absolute best for you and more in 2013. It's going to be a killer year, I'm telling you. And that's what you should be declaring for yourself as well. 2013 is the year where it's my best year yet. It's my best year yet as far as winning titles. It's my best year yet. So declare that. So be it, so be it, so be it, so be it, Roger Federer. I declared it for you, my friend. I saw your video on Facebook as well. And, I'm declaring a lot of stuff for myself this year as well. I'm sick, so I'm not going out kicking my heels up tonight or whatever. I'm going to rest because I have a couple of things to take care of this week, and I want to be fresh for Wednesday when business opens up again, and I'll get everything started again. So I'm just gonna take this time to rest and kick out the rest of the sickness and go. But talking to you, my friend, is always great. So I consider this to be a treat for today as well. So take care of yourself. I'll see you soon. Good luck. Know I'm there with you in spirit as you do your bedtime intention and also your morning declaration. You wake up like, how do I want my day to go? How do I want to be? What type of Roger Federer do I want to show up on this court? Before showing up on the court, before showing up at the tournament, in a press conference, how do I want to be? In the highest form, showing up for myself as a champion, as a winner, as someone who needs to keep their thoughts high and needs to keep themselves available to win a match at every moment. And how am I going to show up in the moment? So you know what you got to do, my friends. And I'd say also revisit some of my videos from 2012. Is this hour-long video now isn't going to be long enough. But I think it was a Wimbledon video. I was talking about showing up in the moment. How do you want to approach showing up at Wimbledon? How do you want to approach the match point by point, moment by moment, set by set, game by game, set by set, etc. And I think that's a formula that works very well for you, and may not be the funnest formula, but I think it's something that's be good to return to, especially in the tough moments. So again, talk to you soon. Have a good one. A happy new year once again. Bye.